Chapter 5, The Wood Sawyer. 1 year and 3 months. Okay, so they have been in France for 1 year and 3 months. During all that time, Lucy was never sure from hour to hour but that the guillotine would strike off her husband's head next day. Every day through the stony streets, the tumbrils now jolted heavily, filled with condemned. Lovely girls, bright women, brown haired, black haired, and grey youths, stalwart men, and old, gentle born and peasant born, all red wine for la guillotine. All daily brought into light from the dark cellars of the loathsome prisons, and carried to her through the streets to slake her devouring thirst. Liberty, equality, fraternity, or death. The last much the easiest to bestow. Oh, guillotine. So for 1 year and 3 months, every day, Lucy doesn't know whether Darnay will die on that day or if he gets to survive. So imagine living in constant fear that your husband and your love will could get assassinated any day. All right? So she had to live with that and be strong for her daughter as well. Okay, and Lucy is a very strong character. She's a very sweet girl. She's a very strong female character. If the suddenness of her calamity and the whirling wheels of the time had stunned the doctor's daughter into awaiting the result in idle despair, it would but have been with her as it was with many. But from the hour when she had taken the white head to her fresh young bosom in the garret of Saint Antoine, she had been true to her duties. She was truest to them in the season of trial, as all the quietly loyal and good will always be. As soon as they were established in their new residence and her father had entered on the routine of his avocations, she arranged the little household as exactly as if her husband had been there. Everything had its appointed place and its appointed time. Little Lucy she taught as regularly as if they had all been united in their English home. The slight devices with which she cheated herself into the show of a belief that they would soon be reunited, the little preparations for his speedy return, the setting aside of his chair and his books, these and the solemn prayer at night for one dear prisoner especially, among the many unhappy souls in prison and the shadow of death, were almost the only outspoken reliefs of her heavy mind. She did not greatly alter in appearance. So I love Lucy Godoy. She every day, instead of giving up, instead of crying, she would teach her daughter. She would set things up as if Darnay could be home any second. She didn't make her family feel like they were in a tragedy. She made them still feel like there was hope, Yud. And that takes such strength, Yud. She did not greatly alter in appearance. The plain dark dresses akin to morning dresses which she and her child wore were as neat and as well attended to as the brighter colors of happy days. She lost her color, and the old intent expression was a constant, not an occasional thing. Otherwise, she remained very pretty and comely. Sometimes at night, on kissing her father, she would burst into the grief she had repressed all day, and would say that her sole reliance under heaven was on him. He always resolutely answered, "Nothing can happen to him without my knowledge, and I know that I can save him, Lucy." So the dad good is like, "Don't worry, Lucy. I can save him, good. I will not allow him a hurt, good see, Charles." They had not made the round of their changed life many weeks when her father said to her on coming home one evening, "My dear, there is an upper window in the prison to which Charles can sometimes gain access at 3 in the afternoon. When he can get to it, which depends on many uncertainties and incidents, he might see you in the street. He thinks if you stood in a certain place that I can show you, but you will not be able to see him, my poor child, and even if you could, it would be unsafe for you to make a sign of recognition. Oh, show me the place, my father, and I will go there every day." Okay, so the doctor was like, at a certain time every day, Charles might, it's not even a sure thing, he might be able to pass by a window. And when he passes by that window, he can see the street for a while. So if you want to, you can stand in a certain place in the street so that possibly Charles might be able to pass by and might be able to see you for a while. You won't be able to see him, and you not even know if you'll be seen, but there's a possibility. And Lucy was like, "Tell me where to stand. I will go there every day," just so that Charles can see her and at least be a little bit, have a little bit of hope and a little bit of joy. From that time, in all weathers, she waited there 2 hours. Oh my. So if it's raining, if it's hot and sunny, she will stand in that street guard so that Charles might be able to see her. For 2 hours, as the clock struck two, she was there, and at four she turned resignedly away. When it was not too wet or inclement for her child to be with her, they went together. At other times she was alone, but she never missed a single day. It was the dark and dirty corner of a small winding street. The hovel of a cutter of wood into lengths for burning was the only house at that end. All else was wall. On the third day of her being there, he noticed her. Good day, citizen. So there's a wood sawyer there who works in that area in the street. And then he noticed Lucy and he's like, good day, citizeness. Good day, citizen. This mode of address was now prescribed by decree. It had been established voluntarily some time ago among the more thorough patriots, but was now law for everybody. Walking here again, citizeness? You see me, citizen. The wood sawyer, who was a little man with a redundancy of gesture, he had once been a mender of roads, cast a glance at the prison, pointed at the prison, and putting his 10 fingers before his face to represent bars, peeped through them jocosely. But it's not my business, said he, and he went on sawing his wood. So this wood sawyer is actually the mender of roads. We know the mender of roads. He was the fool that saw Gaspard under the carriage. He was the fool that reported to the jocks. He's the fool who joined the revolution. He's the fool who was brought to Versailles and saw all the rich people. And he's basically just this annoying revolutionary good, kani ang mender of roads. But now he's the wood sawyer. So, na-upgrade siya gamay. Next day, he was looking out for her and accosted her the moment she appeared. What? Walking here again, citizeness? Yes, citizen. Ah, child too. Your mother, is it not, my little citizeness? Do I say yes, mamma? Whispered little Lucy, drawing close to her. Yes, dearest. Yes, citizen. Ah, but it's not my business. My work is my business. See my saw? I call it my little guillotine. La la la, la la la, and off his head comes. The billet fell as he spoke, and he threw it into a basket. I call myself the Samson of the firewood guillotine. See her again. Loo, loo, and off her head comes. Now a child. Tickle, tickle, pickle, pickle, and off its head comes. All the family. What a jerk. He has a sawman, and then he's like, oh, you're here lagi again, citizeness. Because, guys, the thing is, if they find out that Lucy is the wife of a prisoner and kind of being seen by a prisoner, hoping for the prisoner to be freed, she could get in trouble. So they have to be very careful. And this wood sawyer notices them coming, and he keeps noticing, ay, he kind of has put the puzzle pieces together. Ay, they're the family of a prisoner. And he was cutting the wood and was like, oh, I'm also a guillotine ba yun? He chopped off a piece of wood, off goes a man's head, and then he cut off another piece, off goes a woman's head, and he cut off one more piece, off goes a child's head. The whole family is dead. He's threatening them, and it's creepy. Lucy shuddered as he threw two more billets into his basket, but it was impossible to be there while the wood sawyer was at work and not be in his sight. Thenceforth, to secure his goodwill, she always spoke to him first and often gave him drink money, which he readily received. He was an inquisitive fellow, and sometimes, when she had quite forgotten him in gazing at the prison roofs and grates and in lifting her heart up to her husband, she would come to herself to find him looking at her, with his knee on his bench and his saw stopped in its work. But it's not my business, he would generally say at those times, and would briskly fall to his sawing again. In all weathers, in the snow and frost of winter, in the bitter winds of spring, in the hot sunshine of summer, in the rains of autumn, and again in the snow and frost of winter, Lucy passed 2 hours of every day at this place, and every day on leaving it, she kissed the prison wall. Her husband saw her, so she learned from her father. It might be once in 5 or 6 times, it might be twice or thrice running, it might be not for a week or a fortnight together. It was enough that he could and did see her when the chance was served, and on that possibility she would have waited out the days, 7 days a week. So Charles even couldn't see her every day. He would see her mga once every 5 or 6 times, which means that 5 out of 6 times he doesn't see her, but she doesn't care. Every day she's there good. These occupations brought her round to the December month, wherein her father walked among the terrors with a steady head. On a lightly snowing afternoon, she arrived at the usual corner. It was a day of some wild rejoicing and a festival. She had seen the houses as she came along, decorated with little pikes and with little red caps stuck upon them, also with tricolored ribbons, also with a standard inscription, tricolored letters were the favorite, Republic One and Indivisible, Liberty, Equality, Fraternity, or death. So one day there was like a festival going on while she was waiting to be seen by Darnay. The miserable shop of the wood sawyer was so small that its whole surface furnished very indifferent space for this legend. He had got somebody to scrawl it up for him, however, who had squeezed death in with most inappropriate difficulty. On his housetop he displayed pike and cap, as a good citizen must, and in a window he had stationed his saw, inscribed as his little Saint Guillotine, for the great sharp female was by that time popularly canonized. They turned the guillotine into a saint! And the guillotine, it's a torture, well, it's an execution device. They made it a saint. That's so weird. His shop was shut and he was not there, which was a relief to Lucy and left her quite alone. But he was not far off, for presently she heard a troubled movement and a shouting coming along, which filled her with fear. A moment afterwards, and a throng of people came pouring round the corner by the prison wall, in the midst of whom was the wood sawyer, hand in hand with a vengeance. So the wood sawyer left, and then all of a sudden, this crowd of people started rushing towards the prison, and Lucy is in that street. Okay, and the wood sawyers he's holding the hand of the vengeance. There could not be fewer than 500 people, and they were dancing like 5,000 demons. Okay, so the people were rushing, and Lucy, I don't know, I were Lucy, I would think good nga, they were out to kill me, but actually, they were dancing. Okay, like, they were dancing like demons because it's a festival. There was no other music than their own singing. They danced to the popular revolution song, keeping a ferocious time that was like a gnashing of teeth in unison. Men and women danced together, women danced together, men danced together, as hazard had brought them together. At first, they were a mere storm of coarse red caps and coarse woolen rags. But as they filled the place and stopped to dance about Lucy, some ghastly apparition of a dance figure gone raving mad arose among them. They advanced, retreated, struck at one another's hands, clutched at one another's hands, spun round alone, caught one another, and spun round in pairs until many of them dropped. It's like being in a nightclub. Like you're just in the street, and then all of a sudden, these 500 people start dancing around you, and it's like girls and guys were dancing, girls and girls were dancing, guys and guys were dancing. They were kind of throwing each other and like, gross. Can you imagine being in the center of that? And you would just want to go home. Well, those were down, the rest linked hand in hand and all spun round together. Then the ring broke, and in separate rings of 2 and 4 they turned and turned until they all stopped at once, began again, struck, clutched, and tore, and then reversed the spin, and all spun round another way. Suddenly they stopped again, paused, struck out the time afresh, formed into lines the width of the public way, and with their heads low down and their hands high up, swooped screaming off. No fight could have been half so terrible as this dance. It was so emphatically a fallen sport, something once innocent delivered over to all devilry, a healthy pastime changed into a means of angering the blood, bewildering the senses, and stealing the heart. Such grace as was visible in it made it the uglier, showing how warped and perverted all things good by nature were become. The maidenly bosom bared to this, the pretty almost child's head, thus distracted, the delicate foot mincing in the slough of blood and dirt, were types of the disjointed time. This was the Carmagnole. As it passed, leaving Lucy frightened and bewildered in the doorway of the wood sawyer's house, the feathery snow fell as quietly and lay as white and soft as if it had never been. O my father, for he stood before her when she lifted up the eye, she had momentarily darkened with her hand. Such a cruel bad sight. I know, my dear, I know. I have seen it many times. Don't be frightened. Not one of them would harm you. I am not frightened for myself, my father, but when I think of my husband and the mercies of these people. We will set him above their mercies very soon. I left him climbing to the window, and I came to tell you, there is no one here to see. You may kiss your hand towards that highest shelving roof. I do so, father, and I send him my soul with it. You cannot see him, my poor dear? No, father, said Lucy, yearning and weeping as she kissed her hand. No. A footstep in the snow, Madame de... So the Carmagnole went past the weird dance. The father's there and was like, it's okay. And then they hear a footstep. They turn around. Madame Defarge is standing there. I salute you, citizeness, from the doctor. I salute you, citizen. This in passing, nothing more. Madame Defarge gone like a shadow over the white road. Random! Madame Defarge was just like, passed by and then came back. No, she didn't come back. She just passed by like, good morning. And they're like, good morning. And she went away and they're like, so scary. Give me your arm, my love. Pass from here with an air of cheerfulness and courage for his sake. That was well done. They had left the spot. It shall not be in vain. Charles is summoned for tomorrow. Charles' trial is tomorrow. For tomorrow. There is no time to lose. I am well prepared, but there are precautions to be taken that could not be taken until he was actually summoned before the tribunal. He was not received the notice yet, but I know that he will presently be summoned for tomorrow and removed to the conciergerie. I have timely information. You are not afraid? She could scarcely answer. I trust in you. Do so implicitly. Your suspense is nearly ended, my darling. He shall be restored to you within a few hours. I have encompassed him with every protection. I must see Laurie. Okay? So the dad said his trial is tomorrow, and I promise you, I will get him freed. Good. He keeps saying, Lucy, just trust me. I will free Charles. He stopped. There was a heavy... Okay, pause. I love Dr. Manette. The first time we ever saw Dr. Manette, he was crazy, insane, in a room making shoes, and now he's so calm, he's so in control, and he's like, I will do this for you, Lucy. Good. You saved me all those years ago. I will save your husband. He stopped. There was a heavy lumbering of wheels within hearing. They both knew too well what it meant. 1, 2, 3, 3 tumbrils faring away with their dread loads over the hushing snow. I must see Laurie, the doctor repeated, turning her another way. The staunch old gentleman was still in his trust, had never left it. He and his books were in frequent requisition as to property confiscated and made national. What he could save for the owners he saved, no better man living to hold fast by what Tellson's had in keeping and to hold his peace. A murky red and yellow sky and a rising mist from the Seine denoted the approach of darkness. It was almost dark when they arrived at the bank. The stately residence of Monsignor was altogether blighted and deserted. Above a heap of dust and ashes in the court ran the letters, National Property, Republic One and Indivisible, Liberty, Equality, Fraternity, or Death. Who could that be with Mr. Laurie, the owner of the riding coat upon the chair, who must not be seen? From whom, newly arrived, did he come out, agitated and surprised, to take his favorite in his arms? To whom did he appear to repeat her faltering words, when raising his voice and turning his head towards the door of the room from which he had issued, he said, removed to the conciergerie and summoned for tomorrow? Okay, so someone came with Mr. Laurie. Someone arrived with Mr. Laurie. Who do you think it is? It's Charles. It's the court session of Charles the next day. Who do you think would go all the way to the dangers of France the day before Charles' court case? Who do you think it is? You answer that in your head. You better know who it is, because he said, who could that be with Mr. Laurie, the owner of the riding coat upon the chair who must not be seen? From whom newly arrived did he come out, agitated and surprised, to take his favorite in his arms? To whom did he appear to repeat her faltering words, when raising his voice and turning his head towards the door of the room from which he had issued, he said, remove to the conciergerie and summon for tomorrow? Who would this be, guys? Come on. Who do we need right now the day before Darnay's court case? Who do you think it is? Answer that in your own heads, okay? And that is chapter 5. We are so close. We're literally like 100 pages from the end. And these 100 pages fly by good because they're so intense and they're so good. We're almost done with both this book and the school and the year of literature. Okay? Hope you're enjoying this. Goodbye, grade 10.